1. We've got a real treat for you. A 1965 AMC Rambler Marlin that's sure to turn heads and get your engine revving. This beauty is being offered for sale at $15,000, and let me tell you, it's worth every penny. Now, I know what you might be thinking. But wait, the seller says it's in like-new condition. Is that really true? Well, let's take a closer look and see what we can find out. First off, just feast your eyes on that gorgeous blue paint job. The seller claims it's all original and shiny as can be, with no rust, dents, or dings to speak of. The chrome is also said to be in tip-top shape, gleaming like it just rolled off the showroom floor. Moving on to the interior, the seller says everything is in working order, from the lights to the radio. That's always a good sign in a classic car like this. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful 8-cylinder engine that the seller says starts right up and runs like a dream. They also mention that there are no funny noises, leaks, or smoking of any kind. Another great sign of a well-maintained vehicle. The seller also notes that a lot of the mechanical components are brand new, including belts, hoses, tires, and the battery. They even claim to have records of the work done, which is always reassuring. Now, here's where we have to be honest with you. The seller does mention that they're selling due to medical conditions. While we certainly sympathize with their situation, it's important to keep in mind that this could potentially impact the car's overall condition. As with any used car purchase, it's always a good idea to get a thorough inspection done by a trusted mechanic before making a final decision. That being said, based on the seller's description and the photos provided, this 1965 AMC Rambler Marlin really does seem to be in excellent shape overall. With its stunning good looks, powerful engine, and new mechanical components, it's sure to provide plenty of thrills out on the open road. So, if you're in the market for a classic car that's sure to turn heads and get your heart racing, this 1965 AMC Rambler Marlin might just be the one for you. Just be sure to do your due diligence and get it checked out thoroughly before making any final decisions. 2. We've got a special treat for all you Studebaker fans out there. We're taking a closer look at a pair of 1963 Studebaker Avanti project cars that are up for grabs on Craigslist for just $13,000. That's right, you're getting not one, but 2 classic Avantis for the price of one. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Project cars usually means a whole lot of work and a whole lot of money. And you're not wrong. The seller themselves admits that these cars are in fair condition and will need to be trailered to their new home. But hear me out, because there's still plenty of potential here for the right buyer. First off, let's talk about what you're getting. The deal includes 1 complete project car and 1 donor car for parts. The donor car even comes with a removed motor and transmission, which could come in handy if you're looking to do a full rebuild. Plus, the seller mentions that there are lots of spare parts included, which is always a bonus when you're working on a classic car. Now, let's talk about the condition. The seller notes that the cars were partially restored back in the 1980s, but haven't been driven since the early 2000s. That means they've been sitting for a while, which could mean anything from minor rust to major mechanical issues. But here's the thing, if you're a true car enthusiast with a passion for classic Studebakers, none of that matters. These cars are a blank canvas just waiting for the right person to come along and bring them back to their former glory. With a little elbow grease and a lot of love, these Avantis could be the pride and joy of any car collection. And let's not forget about the price. At just $13,000 for both cars, this is a steal compared to what you might pay for a fully restored Avanti. Plus, the seller is open to offers, so there may be some wiggle room there if you're willing to negotiate. Of course, as with any project car, there are some risks involved. These cars will need a lot of work to get them back on the road, and there's no guarantee that everything will go smoothly. You'll want to do your due diligence and inspect the cars thoroughly before making any final decisions. But if you're up for the challenge and have a true love for classic Studebakers, This could be the opportunity of a lifetime. Just imagine the satisfaction of bringing these beauties back to life and cruising down the road in your very own piece of automotive history. 3. We're taking a closer look at a stunning 1950 Chevrolet Coupe that's up for grabs on Craigslist for just $14,000. And let me tell you, this beauty is not to be missed. First off, can we just take a moment to appreciate the sleek black exterior of this classic Chevy? It's the kind of car that turns heads wherever it goes, and with good reason. The seller notes that the car is in excellent condition, with solid floor pans and a whole lot of new parts under the hood. Speaking of under the hood, this Chevy is packing some serious power. It's got a rebuilt Vortec 350 engine paired with a 350 transmission, which means it's got plenty of get up and go. And with stainless steel headers and a new exhaust system, complete with electric exhaust cutouts or dumps, this car sounds as good as it looks. But the upgrades don't stop there. This Chevy has been outfitted with a Mustang II front suspension, complete with rack and pinion steering and front disc brakes with drilled and slotted rotors. In the back, there's a total cost rear suspension with an early Nova 10 bolt. All of this adds up to a car that handles like a dream and stops on a dime. Inside, the car does need a complete interior, but the seller notes that they have both seat frames included. And with a new low-car floor shifter and new wiring throughout, this car is just begging for a custom interior to match its killer exterior. Now, I know what you might be thinking. $14,000 is a lot of money for a car that needs an interior. But hear me out. The seller notes that the hard part has already been done, and they're not wrong. Finding a solid, well-maintained 1950 Chevy Coupe is no easy feat these days, and with all the upgrades and new parts on this one, it's a steal at this price. Plus, the seller is willing to negotiate on the price, so there may be some wiggle room if you're serious about making this classic Chevy your own. Of course, as with any used car purchase, you'll want to do your due diligence before making any final decisions. But based on the seller's description and the photos provided, this 1950 Chevy Coupe looks to be in excellent shape and ready for its next owner to take it to the next level. 4. We've got a real treat for you. A 1971 Chrysler Newport that's sure to turn heads and get your engine revving. This beauty is being offered for sale at just $5,250, and let me tell you, it's a whole lot of car for the money. Now, I know what you might be thinking. But wait, the seller says it's so ugly it's beautiful. Is that really a good thing? Well, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and if you ask me, this Newport has character in spades. First off, just feast your eyes on that green paint job. It may not be everyone's cup of tea, but it's certainly unique and sure to stand out in a crowd. And with only one rust spot visible in the photos, this car looks to be in pretty solid shape overall. Moving on to the interior, you'll find plenty of space to stretch out in this 4-door sedan. And with factory AC and power steering, you'll be cruising in comfort no matter where the road takes you. Under the hood, you'll find a matching numbers 383 two-barrel engine that the seller says starts right up after being in storage for 4 years. They even changed the fuel filter and fuel hose to the carb to make sure it's running smoothly. And with lots of steel around for protection, you can feel safe and secure behind the wheel of this classic Chrysler. Now, the seller does note that they're too old to be maintaining the car, which is why they're selling it. But based on the description and photos provided, it looks like this Newport could be a great daily driver for someone who appreciates classic cars and isn't afraid of a little character. Of course, as with any used car purchase, it's always a good idea to get a thorough inspection done by a trusted mechanic before making a final decision. And the seller does note that they'll only accept cash, so be sure to have your funds in order if you're serious about making this beauty your own. One thing to note, the seller is adamant that they won't sell this car for derby purposes. So if you're looking for a demolition project, this probably isn't the car for you. But if you appreciate classic American steel and want a unique daily driver with plenty of personality, this 1971 Chrysler Newport might just be the one for you. 5. We've got a real gem for you. A a 1967 Oldsmobile Cutlass Holiday Supreme that's been hidden away in a garage for the past 25 years. This beauty is being offered for sale at just $9,700, and let me tell you, it's a rare find indeed. First off, can we just take a moment to appreciate the fact that this Cutlass has been safely stored away for a quarter of a century? That means it's been protected from the elements and preserved in all its original glory. The seller notes that it still has its original glass and vinyl top, which is a testament to how well it's been cared for over the years. Now, I know what you might be thinking. But wait, if it's been in storage for so long, won't it need a ton of work? Well, the seller has already taken care of a lot of the important stuff for you. They've replaced the coils, shocks, fuel filters, radiator, headers, and mufflers, so you can be sure that this Cutlass is running like a top. Plus, they've added some sweet upgrades like Craigslist SS rims and Mickey Thompson tires, which give it a seriously cool look. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful 8-cylinder engine that the seller says runs great. And with a clean title and just 73,150 miles on the odometer, you can be sure that this Cutlass has plenty of life left in it. Now, the seller does note that the car hasn't been fully restored, which means there may be some minor imperfections or signs of age. But, in my opinion, that just adds to the character and charm of this classic ride. It's a true survivor that's been lovingly maintained over the years, and it shows. And can we talk about that red paint job for a second? It's the kind of color that just screams, "Look at me," and is sure to turn heads wherever you go. The seller even says it themselves. This Cutlass is a real head turner. Of course, as with any used car purchase, it's always a good idea to get a thorough inspection done by a trusted mechanic before making a final decision. But based on the seller's description and the photos provided, this 1967 Oldsmobile Cutlass Holiday Supreme looks to be in great shape and ready for its next owner to enjoy. So what do you say, classic car enthusiasts? Are you ready to make this gorgeous Cutlass your own? If so, head on over to Craigslist and check out the listing for yourself. And who knows, you might just drive away with a piece of automotive history that's been preserved for generations to come. 6. We've got a classic 1978 Chevrolet Corvette up for grabs on Craigslist, and let me tell you, it's a beauty. The seller is asking $15,000 for this iconic sports car, but they're also open to trading it for a side-by-side, so if you've got one lying around, this could be your chance to upgrade to a piece of American automotive history. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but wait, the odometer is broken. How do we know how many miles are really on this thing? Well, the seller does mention that the odometer reads 50,000 miles, but with it being broken, it's hard to say for sure. However, they also note that the original motor, transmission, and rear axle have all been rebuilt, which is a great sign that this Corvette has been well maintained over the years. And let's talk about how this car drives for a minute. The seller says it drives excellently, which is exactly what you want to hear when you're considering a classic sports car like this. With its rebuilt mechanical components and iconic styling, this Corvette is sure to turn heads and provide plenty of thrills out on the open road. Now, as with any used car purchase, there are some things to keep in mind. The seller doesn't provide a ton of details about the overall condition of the car, so you'll want to do your due diligence and get it inspected by a trusted mechanic before making any final decisions. And of course, with the odometer being broken, it's impossible to know the true mileage, so keep that in mind as you're considering this Corvette. But overall, if you're in the market for a classic American sports car with plenty of style and a rebuilt drivetrain, this 1978 Chevrolet Corvette could be just what you're looking for. And at $15,000, or a trade for a side-by-side, it's priced competitively for a car of this caliber. So what do you say, car enthusiasts? Are you ready to make this iconic Corvette your own? If so, head on over to Craigslist and check out the listing for yourself. And who knows, you might just drive or ride away with a piece of automotive history that you'll cherish for years to come. 7. We've got a real treat for you. A rare 1971 Ford Ranchero that's sure to turn heads and get your engine revving. This beauty is being offered for sale at $14,500, and let me tell you, it's worth every penny. First off, let's talk about just how rare this Ranchero is. The seller notes that this particular model was only produced in 1970 and 1971, and was based on the Torino chassis. That means you're not likely to see another one of these beauties on the road very often, which makes it a true collector's item. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful 351C engine with an Edelbrock 4BBL carburetor paired with a C4 transmission. And with those 22-inch chrome wheels, this Ranchero looks just as good as it drives. Now, the seller does note that the odometer reads 25,160 miles, but the true mileage is unknown. However, they also mention that the current owner has made a ton of upgrades to this Ranchero, including a professional paint job in a stunning silver color. They've also replaced the water pump, power steering pump, electronic ignition, U-joints, and balanced the driveline. Plus, they've added new belts and hoses, and just completed an oil change and tune-up with new spark plugs, spark plug wires, fuel, and air filter. And let's not forget about that vintage-style radio. It's the perfect finishing touch to this classic ride. Now, as with any used car purchase, it's always a good idea to get a thorough inspection done by a trusted mechanic before making a final decision. But based on the seller's description and the photos provided, this 1971 Ford Ranchero looks to be in great shape and ready for its next owner to enjoy. Of course, with a price tag of $14,500, this Ranchero isn't exactly a budget buy. But when you consider the rarity of this particular model, the upgrades that have been made, and the overall condition of the car, it's actually a pretty fair price for a piece of automotive history like this. So, what do you say, car enthusiasts? Are you ready to make this rare 1971 Ford Ranchero your own? If so, head on over to Craigslist and check out the listing for yourself. And who knows, you might just drive away with a true collector's item that you'll cherish for years to come. 8. We've got a real piece of automotive history up for grabs, a 1967 Oldsmobile Toronado that's sure to get your engine revving. This beauty is being offered for sale at $15,000, but the seller is willing to consider offers, so there may be some wiggle room if you're serious about making this classic your own. Now, I want to be upfront with you. This Toronado is a project car. The seller notes that it runs and drives, but it does need some electrical work to get it fully up to speed. However, they also mention that the body is in good shape and it's got newer tires and exhaust, which is a great starting point for any restoration project. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful 8-cylinder engine that's sure to provide plenty of thrills out on the open road. And with its front-wheel drive setup, this Toronado was a real game changer when it first hit the market back in 1966. The odometer shows 90,447 miles, which is pretty impressive for a car that's over 50 years old. And with its clean title and collector plate in the seller's name, you can be sure that this Toronado has been well loved and cared for over the years. Now, the seller does mention that they have too many projects and failing health, which is forcing them to sell this classic beauty. And while that's certainly a tough situation to be in, it also means that this Toronado is looking for a new owner who can give it the love and attention it deserves. So, what do you think? Are you up for the challenge of taking on this 1967 Oldsmobile Toronado project car? If so, you'll be rewarded with a truly unique and iconic piece of automotive history that's sure to turn heads wherever you go. Of course, as with any project car, you'll want to do your due diligence before making any final decisions. Get a thorough inspection done by a trusted mechanic, and be prepared to put in some work to get this Toronado back to its former glory. But if you're a true classic car enthusiast with a passion for restoration, and a love for the unique styling of the Toronado, this could be the project of a lifetime. Just imagine the satisfaction of cruising down the road in a car that you brought back to life with your own two hands. 9. We've got a real treat for you. A 1982 Chevrolet Camaro that's sure to get your heart racing. This beauty is being offered for sale at just $9,000. And let me tell you, it's a whole lot of car for the money. First off, let's talk about the engine. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful 305 cubic inch V8 that's paired with a 4-speed manual transmission. And according to the seller, this Camaro hasn't been driven much in the winter or rain, which means the underside of the car and the engine compartment are both clean and in great shape. The seller also mentions that the original exhaust is clean, which is a great sign that this Camaro has been well maintained over the years. And with newer front calipers and pads, as well as rear cylinders and shoes, you can be sure that this car stops as well as it goes. Now, I do want to be upfront about one thing. The original paint is faded, but in my opinion, that just adds to the character of this classic ride. It's a testament to the fact that this Camaro has been around the block a few times and has plenty of stories to tell. Inside, you'll find a good interior that's ready for you to make it your own. And with T-roofs that don't leak, you can enjoy the open air while cruising down the road in style. Of course, as with any used car, there are a few things to keep in mind. The odometer shows 195,000 miles, which is definitely on the higher side. But if this Camaro has been well maintained over the years, and it certainly seems like it has, then those miles shouldn't be too much of a concern. Overall, if you're in the market for a classic American muscle car with plenty of power and character, this 1982 Chevrolet Camaro might just be the one for you. It's got a clean title, a strong engine, and a whole lot of potential for customization and personalization. So what do you say, car enthusiasts? Are you ready to make this Camaro your own? If so, head on over to Craigslist and check out the listing for yourself. And who knows, you might just drive away with a piece of automotive history that you'll cherish for years to come. 10. We've got a real gem for you. A 1978 Ford Fiesta that's sure to put a smile on your face every time you get behind the wheel. This fun and rare classic car is being offered for sale at just $4,250 or best offer. And let me tell you, it's a whole lot of fun for the money. First off, can we just take a moment to appreciate the bright yellow paint job on this Fiesta? It's the kind of color that just screams, "Let's go on an adventure," and is sure to turn heads wherever you go. The seller does note that there's some minor rust on the front end under the passenger side bumper, but they've included pictures so you know exactly what you're getting. Under the hood, you'll find a peppy 4-cylinder engine that's paired with a manual transmission. And according to the seller, this Fiesta runs and drives great, which is exactly what you want to hear when you're looking for a fun and reliable classic car. Now, I know what you might be thinking. 139,000 miles is a lot for a car this old. But hear me out. The seller mentions that the odometer has rolled over, which means this Fiesta has actually traveled 139,000 miles, plus whatever was on the odometer before it rolled over. But if it's been well maintained over the years, and it certainly seems like it has, then those miles shouldn't be too much of a concern. The seller also mentions that they love this car, but just don't get to drive it as much as they'd like to. And I totally get that. Sometimes life gets in the way of our hobbies and passions. But their loss could be your gain, because now you have the opportunity to own a rare and fun classic car that's perfect for commuting or fixing up. And as an added bonus, the seller is including an extra hatch that they were originally going to use for the car. So if you're the kind of person who likes to tinker and customize your ride, this Fiesta could be the perfect blank canvas for your next project. Overall, if you're in the market for a fun and affordable classic car that's sure to put a smile on your face every time you drive it, this 1978 Ford Fiesta might just be the one for you. It's got a clean title, a peppy engine, and a whole lot of personality. 11. we've got a real treat for you. A 1969 Chevrolet Chevelle that's just begging for a new owner to give it some love and attention. This beauty is being offered for sale at $13,000, and while it may need some work, it's got all the makings of an incredible project car. First off, let's talk about the drivetrain. Under the hood, you'll find a numbers-matching 350 motor that's paired with a 3-speed Muncie transmission and a 12-bolt rear end. That's the kind of setup that classic Chevelle enthusiasts dream about, and it's a great foundation for any restoration or resto-mod project. The seller also mentions that this Chevelle is wearing its original Phantom Green paint, which is a color that you don't see too often these days. It's a real head-turner, and with some careful restoration work, it could really shine. The black interior is also original, which is a great sign that this car has been well loved over the years. Now, I do want to be upfront about the condition of this Chevelle. The seller notes that it's been sitting for a while, which means it may need some work to get it back up and running. However, they also mention that it will start up and move, which is a great starting point for any project car. The floorboards and trunk are also solid, which is a big plus for any classic car. Rust can be a real killer for these old beauties, so knowing that the underside of the car is in good shape is a real relief. The seller also has the side glass and the original black license plates, which are great additions to any restoration project. And with a clean title and the original Protecto plate, you can be sure that this Chevelle is the real deal. Overall, if you're in the market for a classic Chevelle project car with a numbers-matching drivetrain and plenty of potential, this 1969 model might just be the one for you. It's got a solid foundation, some great original features, and a price tag that leaves plenty of room for restoration work. Of course, as with any project car, you'll want to do your due diligence before making any final decisions. Get a thorough inspection done by a trusted mechanic, and be prepared to put in some work to get this Chevelle back to its former glory. But if you're up for the challenge and have a passion for classic American muscle cars, this 1969 Chevrolet Chevelle could be the project of a lifetime. Just imagine the satisfaction of cruising down the road in a car that you brought back to life with your own two hands. 12. We've got a real gem for you. A 1962 Ford Galaxy that's sure to turn heads and get your heart racing. This beauty is being offered for sale at $14,500, and let me tell you, it's worth every penny. First off, can we just take a moment to appreciate the fact that this Galaxy has spent its entire life in Idaho? For those of you who may not know, Idaho is known for its high desert climate, which means this car has been spared from the ravages of rust that can plague classic cars in other parts of the country. That's a huge plus in my book. The seller also mentions that the upholstery is original, which is a testament to how well this car has been cared for over the years. And with new carpet and a new headliner, the interior of this Galaxy is looking fresh and inviting. Under the hood, you'll find a 292 Y-block motor that's sure to provide plenty of power and performance. And with a nice sounding exhaust system, you'll be turning heads everywhere you go. The seller also notes that this Galaxy has 10-inch rear tires and 8-inch front tires, which give it a great stance and a classic look that's sure to impress. Now, I do want to point out that the odometer shows 112,000 miles, which is definitely on the higher side for a classic car. However, if this Galaxy has been well maintained over the years, and based on the seller's description, it certainly seems like it has, then those miles shouldn't be too much of a concern. Overall, if you're in the market for a classic American car with plenty of style and character, this 1962 Ford Galaxy might just be the one for you. It's got a clean title, original features, and a rust-free body that's hard to find in cars of this age. Of course, as with any used car purchase, you'll want to do your due diligence before making any final decisions. Get a thorough inspection done by a trusted mechanic, and be prepared to put in some work to keep this Galaxy running strong for years to come. But if you're up for the challenge and have a passion for classic cars, This 1962 Ford Galaxy could be the ride of your dreams. Just imagine cruising down the road in this beauty, with the wind in your hair and the sun on your face. It's the kind of experience that every car enthusiast lives for. So what do you say, classic car fans? Are you ready to make this Galaxy your own? If so, head on over to Craigslist and check out the listing for yourself. And who knows, you might just drive away with a piece of automotive history that you'll cherish for years to come. 13. We've got a real treat for you, a 1979 Chevrolet Camaro that's sure to get your engine revving. This beauty is being offered for sale at just $6,500, and let me tell you, it's a whole lot of car for the money. First off, can we just take a moment to appreciate the sleek black paint job on this Camaro? It's the kind of color that just oozes cool, and is sure to turn heads wherever you go. The seller doesn't mention anything about the condition of the paint, so we'll assume it's in good shape overall. Now let's talk about what's under the hood. This Camaro is packing a Chevy 350 engine with a 4-bolt main, and get this, it has less than 100 miles on it. That's right, this engine is practically brand new, which means you'll have plenty of power and reliability for years to come. The seller also mentions that this Camaro has an automatic transmission, which is great for those of you who prefer a more laid-back driving experience. And with brand new seats, you'll be cruising in comfort no matter where the road takes you. But the upgrades don't stop there. This Camaro also has brand new wheels and tires, which not only look great, but also provide plenty of grip and handling. And if you're a fan of open-air driving, you'll love the sunroof that was installed by the original dealership that sold this car brand new. Now, as with any used car, there are always a few things to keep in mind. The seller doesn't mention anything about the overall condition of the car, so you'll want to give it a thorough inspection before making any final decisions. And while the engine may have less than 100 miles on it, the rest of the car has likely seen its fair share of use over the past 40+ years. But overall, if you're in the market for a classic American muscle car with plenty of power and style, this 1979 Chevrolet Camaro might just be the one for you. It's got a clean title, a practically brand new engine, and some great upgrades that make it stand out from the crowd. 14. We've got a real gem for you, a 1965 Dodge Custom 880 convertible that's just begging for a new owner to give it some love and attention. This beauty is being offered for sale at $8,150, and while it may need some work, it's got all the makings of an incredible project car. First off, let's talk about the history of this Dodge. While the seller isn't certain where it was originally sold, they do know that the second owner purchased it in the late 70s at Bill Breck Dodge in Tucson, Arizona. And get this, that owner actually traded it in years later, only to buy it back for his son from the same dealer. Talk about a car with a story to tell. Now, I do want to be upfront about the condition of this Dodge. The seller notes that it's been in outdoor covered storage for about 17 years, which means it's been exposed to the elements, especially after the top deteriorated. When it first came out of storage, it looked like a sad state of affairs, but the seller saw the potential in this classic Mopar. After a major cleanup, the true beauty of this Dodge started to shine through. It's got some great features like power steering, power brakes, dual exhaust, factory AC, and power windows. And with spinner hubcaps, a tonneau cover, and a split bench seat, it's got that classic 60s style that we all know and love. Under the hood, the seller has done some work to get this Dodge running strong. They've replaced the water pump, done an oil and filter change, rebuilt the carburetor, flushed the brake fluid, and even installed a new fuel tank and sending unit. The car starts, runs, shifts, drives, and stops pretty well, which is a great starting point for any project car. Of course, there are still some things that need attention. The seller notes that the car needs new tires, some interior work, and a new top. The front windows work, but the rear quarter windows don't. And while the power top works, it does leak. The windshield is okay, but has some rock chips, and the speedometer and odometer don't work at all. But here's the thing. If you're a true classic car enthusiast, none of that matters. This 1965 Dodge Custom 880 convertible is a blank canvas, just waiting for the right person to come along and bring it back to its former glory. With some elbow grease and a lot of love, this car could be the pride and joy of any collection. And at just $8,950, it's a steal compared to what you might pay for a fully restored classic Mopar. Plus, with a clean title and a history that's sure to be a conversation starter. This Dodge is a true one-of-a-kind find. 15. We've got a real treat for you, a 1966 Chrysler Newport that's up for grabs on Craigslist. This beauty is a true classic, and it could be yours for just $5,500. Now I've got to be straight with you. The seller says the car is in good condition, but there are a few things you should know. The odometer is broken, so we can't be sure of the exact mileage. The speedometer is also not working, but the seller claims it has 64,000 original miles. Despite these minor issues, this Newport is still a fantastic find. It's a two-door hardtop with a powerful Chrysler 383 V8 engine under the hood. The car features an automatic transmission, power steering, and power brakes, making it a breeze to drive. Plus, it comes with a spare tire and jack, so you're prepared for any roadside emergencies. The seller has made some recent improvements to the car, including reupholstered seats, a rebuilt carburetor, new brakes, a new gas tank, and a new fuel pump. The glass is intact, and there are no dents, just some minor rust. Keep in mind that this car uses lead additive for gas, so you'll need to factor that into your maintenance costs. Now, the seller does mention that the car runs with help, so it may need some additional TLC to get it in tip-top shape. They recommend bringing your trailer or mechanic to check it out before making a decision. Overall, this 1966 Chrysler Newport is a fantastic opportunity for any classic car lover. It's got a clean Wyoming title and a price that's hard to beat. If you're ready to take on a project car with tons of potential, this could be the one for you. Don't miss out on this chance to own a piece of automotive history. 16. We've got a real gem for you, a 1965 Ford Falcon Sprint that's up for sale on Craigslist. This beauty could be yours for $14,500. But before you pull the trigger, let's take a closer look. First off, the seller says the car is in good condition, but there are a few things to keep in mind. The odometer is broken, so we can't be sure of the exact mileage, although the seller claims it has 100,000 miles on it. The car also needs a complete interior, bodywork, paint, and chrome, so it's not quite ready for the showroom floor just yet. But don't let that discourage you. This Falcon Sprint has a lot going for it. Under the hood, you'll find a freshly bored 289 engine with new pistons, rings, cam, lifters, timing chain set, and more. The suspension has been upgraded with new control arms, ball joints, shocks, and power steering components. And the brakes have been completely redone with new hoses, wheel cylinders, and a new master cylinder. The seller has also made some nice additions to the body, including a new turn signal switch, shift boot, and knob, as well as a rebuilt heater with a new core and hoses. The fuel system has been updated with a new tank, sender, and filler hose, and all the wiring harnesses under the hood are brand new. Now, there is one small rust spot on the passenger side before the tire, and the door tag doesn't match the car. But overall, this Falcon Sprint is a solid project car with a lot of potential. The seller is asking for cash only and no trades, and they encourage you or your agent to inspect the vehicle before making an offer. If you're looking for a classic car to restore and make your own, this 1965 Ford Falcon Sprint could be the perfect fit. With a clean title and a lot of work already done, it's a great starting point for any enthusiast. Just be prepared to put in some elbow grease to get it looking and running like new again. 17. We're diving into the world of Craigslist to check out a 1966 Mercury Comet Caliente that's up for grabs. And let me tell you, this isn't your grandma's Sunday driver. It's a full-on, street-legal race car. Now, before we get too excited, let's talk about the price. The seller is asking $15,000 for this purple powerhouse. It's not exactly pocket change, but when you consider the build list, which we'll get to in a moment, it starts to look like a pretty sweet deal. The seller claims the car is in good condition, and from what I can see in the photos, it looks like they're telling the truth. The paint job is a stunning shade of purple that's sure to turn heads at the track or on the street. And with a clean title, you won't have to worry about any pesky legal issues when you're burning rubber. Under the hood, this Comet is packing some serious heat. With an 8-cylinder engine and a rear-wheel drive setup, you know it's built for speed. The automatic transmission means you can focus on the road ahead while the car does the shifting for you. But the real magic is in the build list. The seller has provided a detailed rundown of all the modifications and upgrades they've made to this beast. From the engine to the suspension to the interior, no stone has been left unturned in the quest for ultimate performance. Now I know what you're thinking, but wait, if it's a race car, is it even street legal? Well, my friends, the answer is a resounding yes. The seller has made sure that this Comet meets all the necessary requirements to be driven on public roads, so you can take it to the track on the weekends and cruise around town during the week. Of course, as with any used car, there are always a few things to keep in mind. The seller doesn't mention anything about the mileage or the overall condition of the engine, so you'll want to do your due diligence before making an offer. But if everything checks out, this could be the perfect addition to any Speed Freak's garage. So, what do you think? Is this 1966 Mercury Comet Caliente the street-legal race car of your dreams? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more killer Craigslist finds. 18. We've got a real treat for you, a 1966 Ford Mustang that's up for grabs on Craigslist. And the best part, it could be yours for just $9,000. Now, I know what you're thinking. What's the catch? Well, let me tell you, there isn't one. The seller claims that this Mustang is a turnkey cruiser, ready to hit the road at a moment's notice. And from what I can see in the video, it runs and drives like a dream. Under the hood, you'll find a 6-cylinder engine that's ready to rumble. And with an automatic transmission, you can sit back and enjoy the ride without worrying about shifting gears. But here's the thing. This Mustang isn't some shiny, restored show car. It's unrestored, which means it's got all the character and charm of a true classic. The seller mentions that they've invested a lot into this car, and they've got the receipts to prove it. So you know it's been well taken care of. Now, I do have to mention one thing. The odometer has rolled over. The seller says it shows 66,000 miles, but we can't be sure of the actual mileage. But honestly, with a car this cool, does it really matter? The seller also mentions that the car comes with a clean Washington title, so you won't have to worry about any legal hassles when you're cruising down the highway. If you're interested in learning more about this 1966 Mustang, the seller encourages you to give them a call or shoot them a text. Gabe seems like a friendly guy who's happy to answer any questions you might have. So what do you think? Is this unrestored 1966 Ford Mustang the classic car of your dreams? With a price tag of just $9,000, it's hard to resist. And who knows, maybe you'll be the one cruising down the road in this beauty, turning heads and making memories. 19. We're taking a closer look at a real gem from the past, a 1985 Mercury Cougar that's just hit the market on Craigslist. This beauty is up for grabs at a price of $4,200. And let me tell you, it's got some serious potential. Now, I know what you might be thinking. A car that's been in storage for 23 years? That's gotta be a rust bucket, right? Well, think again. According to the seller, this Cougar is in excellent condition. It's got just 64,000 original miles on the odometer, and the seller even claims to have gotten it from the original owner. That's a pretty impressive pedigree, if you ask me. Under the hood, you'll find a 6-cylinder engine that's sure to provide plenty of power for cruising down the highway or tearing up the back roads. And with rear-wheel drive, you'll get that classic muscle car feel that's sure to put a smile on your face. But let's talk about the real showstopper here, the paint. The seller says it's a new base coat and clear coat. And from the photos, it looks absolutely stunning. The blue color is deep and rich, and it's sure to turn heads wherever you go. Inside, the interior looks to be in great shape as well. The seller doesn't go into too much detail, but from what we can see, it looks clean and well maintained. Now, I know some of you might be skeptical about a car that's been sitting for so long, but the seller seems to have put in the work to get this Cougar back on the road. They mention that many new parts have been installed, and they've even thrown in some nice wheels and tires. And if you're a purist, don't worry, the original wheels are included too. Overall, this 1985 Mercury Cougar seems like a fantastic find for any collector or enthusiast. It's got low mileage, a clean title, and a whole lot of style. The seller is asking $4,200 or best offer, and they might even be open to a trade for a hot rod project. So if you're in the market for a classic ride with plenty of potential, this Cougar might just be the one for you. 20. We've got a real treat for you. A 1963 Ford Falcon that's up for sale on Craigslist. This classic beauty is priced at $10,000, and let me tell you, it's got some serious potential. First off, let's talk about the condition. The seller admits that it needs some body and interior work, but don't let that discourage you. This Falcon has all the makings of a great show car. With its original features and the fact that there aren't many of these around, it's sure to turn heads at any car show. Under the hood, you'll find a 2.4L 6-cylinder engine that's ready to rumble. The seller mentions that it starts, runs, and drives great, so you won't have to worry about any major mechanical issues. And with rear-wheel drive, you'll get that classic muscle car feel that's sure to put a smile on your face. But what really sets this Falcon apart is the work that's been done to it recently. The seller has gone through and rebuilt the carburetor, replaced the entire brake system, including the lines, and even installed a new clutch. They've also replaced the distributor cap, speedometer cable, spark plugs and lines, and even the tires and rims. And to top it all off, they've measured the points, greased the Zerk fittings, and replaced all the fluids. That's a whole lot of work that you won't have to worry about doing yourself. Now, let's talk about the odometer. With just 63,000 miles on it, this Falcon has plenty of life left in it. And with a clean title in hand, you can be sure that you're getting a car with a clear history. As for the paint color, this Falcon is rocking a classic red that's sure to turn heads. It may need some touch-ups here and there, but overall, it's a great-looking car. The seller does mention that the Falcon may not be the most convenient daily driver, but that's not really what this car is about. It's about the nostalgia, the history, and the potential to create something truly special. Overall, this 1963 Ford Falcon is a fantastic find for any collector or enthusiast. It may need some work, but with the right touch, it could be a real showstopper. And at $10,000, it's priced fairly for all the potential it holds. So if you're in the market for a classic ride with plenty of character, this Falcon might just be the one for you.